Most men fail with women not because they ask for intimacy too soon, but because they ask at all. Think about that for a second. You've probably been in a situation where you liked a woman, you took her out, maybe you even treated her like a queen. But when the moment came, when you wanted things to get closer, she pulled away. You thought maybe you said something wrong, maybe you should try harder, buy her more things, or wait until she's ready. But the truth is brutal. Women don't reject intimacy itself. They reject men who don't spark desire. See, attraction doesn't grow from begging, convincing, or asking permission. It comes from energy, presence, and the way you show up as a man. When you try to negotiate desire with logic, you kill it. But when you carry yourself with calm confidence, when you know how to awaken her emotions instead of seeking approval, you don't have to ask. She leans in. She chooses intimacy with you, not because you forced it, but because you ignited it. In this video, we'll break down the psychology of desire through the lens of Stoicism, why women pull back, and how to unlock intimacy without ever chasing it. If you've ever wondered why effort sometimes backfires, you're about to discover the real answer. Let's get into it. Number 1. Weak energy kills desire. Let's be brutally honest for a second. Weak energy is the fastest way to kill desire. You can dress well, smell good, even say all the right words, but if the energy you bring is needy, insecure, or hesitant, she feels it instantly. Women are unbelievably intuitive when it comes to energy. They may not be able to explain it in words, but they can sense it in the way you walk, the tone of your voice, even the pauses between your sentences. Think about this. Women are wired to seek strength, not just physical strength, but emotional stability and presence. When you bring weak energy, apologizing for existing, waiting for her approval, seeking validation with every move, you're basically communicating that you don't trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, why should she trust you? This is where many men trip up. They confuse being kind with being weak. They confuse being respectful with being submissive. Respect is powerful when it comes from a man who knows his worth. But respect from a man who fears rejection feels like desperation. And desperation, no matter how politely packaged, turns off desire. Take Jason, 28, who met Sarah, 26, at a friend's birthday party. On paper, he had everything going for him. He was smart, tall, and carried himself well. But throughout the night, he kept apologizing for tiny things. Sorry if I'm boring you. Sorry if I'm talking too much. Sorry if I'm not your type. Sarah wasn't offended, but she felt the insecurity behind his words. By the end of the evening, she had already filed him into the safe but unexciting category. His weak energy didn't just dim the spark, it smothered it completely. Now imagine if Jason had shown up differently. Instead of over-apologizing, he owned his presence. When Sarah teased him about his drink choice, he could have laughed and replied, "That's because I know what I like." When he spoke, he could have done so with calm conviction, not hesitation. That small shift from asking for permission to simply expressing himself would have made him magnetic. The Stoics understood this truth centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Weak energy happens when a man forgets this wisdom. He makes the mistake of placing his self-worth in someone else's hands, especially in a woman's reaction to him. But strength, the kind that women find irresistible, comes from knowing your worth exists regardless of who accepts or rejects you. Here's the paradox. The more you chase her validation, the less she wants to give it. But the moment you stop seeking approval and stand grounded in your own energy, everything changes. You don't need to force attraction. Your presence itself creates it. Women don't consciously say, "He's weak, I'm not attracted." Instead, they simply feel something is missing. And what's missing is the confident energy that makes them feel both safe and excited in your presence. So, The first step to intimacy is not clever lines, tricks, or timing. It's the energy you bring. If it's weak, you lose before you even begin. If it's strong, not arrogant, but calm, steady, and grounded, you don't even need to ask for connection. She feels it, she responds to it, and she leans in without you forcing anything. Now I want to hear from you. If you know you're done carrying weak energy into your interactions, drop this in the comments right now. I own my presence. And remember, what we're uncovering here goes deeper than just surface-level attraction. Because when you master your energy, you start to unlock a power most men will never understand, a power that makes women see you in a completely different way. Stay with me, because it only gets more eye-opening from here. Number 2. Stop seeking approval, start leading. One of the biggest mistakes men make when it comes to intimacy is constantly seeking approval. It might show up in small ways, asking if she likes your outfit, waiting for her to validate your jokes, or hesitating to make plans because you want to see what she wants first. On the surface, this might look polite, even considerate, but underneath, what it really communicates is insecurity. It tells her, without words, that you don't fully trust yourself to lead. Here's the hard truth. Women don't fall for men who are begging for validation. They're drawn to men who know who they are, who can make decisions, and who can stand firmly in them. That doesn't mean being controlling or dismissive. It means stepping into leadership with confidence. When you constantly ask for her approval, you hand over your masculine energy, and once you give that away, attraction slowly dies. Think about how this plays out in simple moments. Instead of saying, "Where do you want to eat?" for the 100th time, you say, "I know a great Italian spot, let's go there tonight." Instead of waiting for her to decide if you should make a move, you calmly initiate with respect and clarity. This isn't about forcing your will, it's about showing her that you're capable of guiding the moment. That leadership makes her feel secure, and security is one of the deepest triggers of desire. The Stoics understood this power of self-direction. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Seeking approval places your freedom in someone else's hands. You're no longer the master of yourself, you're a prisoner of her opinion. But when you lead, when you trust your own judgment, you're free. That freedom radiates as strength, and women feel it in every interaction. Let's get something straight. Leadership is not about dominance, it's about clarity. It's the difference between asking, "Do you think this is okay?" versus stating, "This is what I believe is right." When a man leads with clarity, it doesn't close doors, it opens them. It gives her the chance to lean into your frame, to feel that she can relax and trust your direction. And ironically, the less you seek her approval, the more she freely gives it. If you've ever wondered why being too nice doesn't always work, this is the reason. Being nice isn't the problem. The problem is when nice is just a disguise for approval seeking. Women can sense the difference between kindness that's rooted in strength and kindness that's rooted in fear. The former is irresistible. The latter feels heavy, even suffocating. So what does it look like in practice? It looks like deciding, acting, and owning the outcome without apologizing for existing. It looks like leading a conversation instead of waiting for her cues. It looks like respecting her perspective, but never abandoning your own just to please her. That balance between respect and self-leadership is where true attraction lives. And here's the paradox again. When you stop chasing her approval, you create the space for real intimacy. Because now, you're not trying to win her over, you're simply inviting her into your world, a world that already has direction and purpose. That is infinitely more attractive than any compliment or validation-seeking behavior could ever be. Now it's your turn. If you know you're done chasing approval and ready to step into leadership, comment below with, "I lead myself." And stick with me, because as we keep peeling back the layers of attraction, you'll see how small shifts in your mindset can completely change the way women respond to you. What's coming next isn't about tricks or tactics, it's about unlocking a deeper truth most men never realize. Number 3. Desire isn't logical, it's emotional. Here's something most men never fully grasp. Attraction isn't a checklist. It's not about having the right job, the perfect car, or even the sharpest looks. Desire is not logical, it's emotional. You can tick every box society says women want, and still find yourself alone. Why? Because women don't fall in love with your resume. They fall in love with how you make them feel. Take Michael, for example. He's 29, a software engineer in Austin, Texas. Stable job, decent income, polite, and on paper, he seems like a catch. But when he goes on dates, he treats them like job interviews, asking practical questions, giving logical answers, and constantly highlighting his accomplishments. Across the table, Emma, 27, a marketing professional, feels nothing. She can't fault him for being boring or rude, he's perfectly fine. But there's no spark, no fire. Why? Because Michael's approach appeals to her mind, but not her emotions. This is the exact trap many men fall into. They think if they just present enough logic, I'm successful, I'm stable, I'd make a great partner, women will naturally want them. But attraction doesn't work like that. A woman's desire is tied to how you stimulate her emotions. Excitement, curiosity, playfulness, safety, even a little tension. Without emotions, logic just sits there, flat and lifeless. Think about it this way. Have you ever heard a woman say, "I know he's not good for me, but I can't stop thinking about him"? That's the proof. Desire overrides logic every single time. Women might know a man is flawed, maybe even complicated, yet their emotions pull them in. That pull is what makes intimacy magnetic. It's not rational, it's visceral. The Stoics understood the difference between logic and emotion in a profound way. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Apply that here. You can't control whether a woman logically approves of you, but you can control the emotional presence you bring into an interaction. The strength lies in showing up in a way that awakens feeling, not just thought. Let's go back to Michael and Emma. Imagine instead of listing his job title, Michael leaned into the moment with playful energy. When Emma joked about spilling coffee on herself earlier, he teased back with a smirk, "Guess I should keep my drink far away from you then." Suddenly, Emma laughs, her body relaxes, and her emotions are engaged. Same guy, same date, but this time he's connecting to her emotionally, not logically. And now she feels something. That's the real key. Women may appreciate your logic, but they're moved by your energy. It's why a man with average looks but a confident, playful vibe often outshines the guy with the six-figure salary and polished resume. When you shift from facts to feelings, from logic to emotional connection, everything changes. So stop treating desire like a math problem. It's not about adding the right credentials or subtracting your flaws. It's about tuning into the emotions of the moment, knowing when to make her laugh, when to create a pause that builds tension, and when to let your presence speak louder than your words. Now here's the challenge for you. Drop a comment below and claim it with, "I spark emotion." This isn't just a phrase, it's a commitment to stop hiding behind logic and start embracing the emotional reality of desire. And don't go anywhere. Because as you'll see moving forward, once you truly understand this emotional layer, you'll realize that intimacy is about far more than charm or words. It's about mastering something deeper most men completely overlook. Number 4. Sexual energy speaks louder than words. Here's a truth most men don't realize. Before you ever say a word, your sexual energy is already speaking. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you look at her, the way you occupy space. You can say all the right lines, memorize every pickup trick you've read online, but if your energy is weak, scattered, or insecure, none of it will matter. She feels you before she hears you. Sexual energy isn't about being aggressive or trying to dominate. It's about embodying presence. It's that grounded state where you're calm, centered, and fully in the moment. When a woman senses this energy, she doesn't need you to spell out your intentions. She feels it through your silence, your gaze, your relaxed confidence. It's a form of communication beyond words. The Stoics remind us of this in a subtle way. Seneca once said, "Most powerful is he who has himself in his own power." Think about that in the context of desire. A man who is in control of himself radiates certainty. He doesn't fidget, doesn't chase, doesn't need to oversell himself. His sexual energy is steady, grounded, undeniable. And women are drawn to that not because of what he says, but because of what he is radiating. Imagine being in a room where two men stand side by side. One talks endlessly about his achievements, filling the air with noise. The other says little, but his posture is firm, his eye contact steady, his body relaxed. Without a word, the second man commands more attention. Why? Because his energy speaks for him. That is the silent power of sexual presence. And here's where most men miss the point. They try to compensate for weak energy with more words. They think if they just explain themselves better, or if they keep talking, she'll eventually feel attracted. But attraction doesn't come from explanation, it comes from sensation. The moment she feels your energy is when she begins to lean in, to wonder, to imagine. Words alone can't create that. Now, this doesn't mean you should never speak or flirt verbally. Of course, conversation matters. But the deeper truth is that your words should be an extension of your energy, not a substitute for it. When your body language, your tone, and your gaze are aligned, every word you say lands with 10 times the weight. Without that energy, even the best line falls flat. Think of it this way. If logic appeals to her mind, sexual energy awakens her body. It bypasses the analytical filter and stirs something primal, something she can't rationalize away. She might not even know why she feels drawn to you, but she does. And that's the point. Desire is not negotiated, it's ignited. So how do you cultivate this kind of energy? It starts with inner work, controlling your breath, grounding yourself, being comfortable with silence, and releasing the need to perform. When you stop trying to prove yourself and simply embody presence, your sexual energy naturally intensifies. It's not about forcing, it's about allowing. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment and claim it with, "I radiate power." This is more than words. It's your affirmation that you'll stop hiding behind chatter and start letting your energy do the talking. And stay with me, because as we move forward, you'll see that once this energy is alive in you, it changes how you connect, how you touch, and how you invite her closer without ever having to over-explain. Number 5. The man who doesn't react wins. There's a subtle but powerful truth in human interaction. The man who doesn't react always wins. Think about it when she tests you, ignores your text for hours, or makes a teasing comment just to see if you'll break. Most men crumble. They get defensive, they over-explain, they chase harder. And the moment they do, they've already lost ground. Why? Because reactivity signals weakness. It shows her that she can control your emotions. And once she senses that, she knows you're not the grounded, unshakable man she desires. You're just another guy hoping for her approval. Take Daniel, 29, for example. He meets a woman at a friend's party, and they click. But a week later, when she starts replying with one-word texts, he panics. He sends long explanations, tries to lighten the mood with extra emojis, and even apologizes for things he didn't do. All of this only pushes her further away. Now compare that to Sarah's interaction with Mike, 32. They're on a date, and she casually mentions that other guys have been asking her out. Instead of reacting with jealousy or trying to compete, Mike simply smiles, holds her gaze, and changes the subject. No drama, No overreaction, just calm confidence. That moment makes Sarah lean in because she feels his strength. He's not easily shaken. This is where Stoicism offers us timeless wisdom. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Women feel this deeply. They aren't testing you to be cruel, they're testing to see if you're grounded, if you're truly in control of yourself. If you can hold your frame while she tries to push you off balance, you show her a rare strength. Here's the thing. Not reacting doesn't mean being cold or robotic. It means responding instead of reacting. It means taking a breath, choosing calmness, and showing that you're not controlled by fleeting emotions. In fact, the less you react, the more powerful your presence becomes. It communicates silently, "I am centered, I am unshakable," and that's magnetic. This is why the man who doesn't react wins, because he's not playing her game, he's living by his own standard. And when a woman sees that you won't break under pressure, her respect grows. Respect always precedes decide. Without it, attraction fades fast. So the next time she cancels plans last minute, flirts with someone else to test your composure, or goes silent for hours, pause. Don't chase, don't explode, don't beg. Just remain calm, carry on with your life, and show her that your emotions are yours to control, not hers to manipulate. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment and own it with, "I stay grounded." That simple declaration is a reminder that your strength lies not in reaction, but in steady, calm presence. And stick around, because once you fully understand this principle, you'll see how it transforms not just how women view you, but how you carry yourself in every situation, making you more magnetic than you thought possible. Number 6. Let her cross the line. One of the biggest mistakes men make when it comes to intimacy is trying to force the moment. They push, they pressure, or they over-explain, hoping to convince a woman to say yes. But here's the truth. The most powerful and natural way for intimacy to unfold is when she crosses the line herself. Think about it. When you're constantly the one pushing forward, she feels cornered. It becomes your agenda, not a shared connection, and nothing kills desire faster than pressure. But when you hold your ground, create the right atmosphere, and let her lean into you, everything changes. She feels safe, curious, and free to step closer. This is where restraint becomes powerful. A man who doesn't rush, who doesn't need the moment to happen right now, is a man who radiates confidence. He's not chasing the outcome, he's creating space where intimacy can naturally grow. That space is what allows her to cross the line. The Stoics taught us something profound about this dynamic. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Intimacy is exactly that. You can't control her pace, her decisions, or her timing. What you can control is your presence, your energy, and your ability to make her feel safe without demanding anything. When you embody this principle, you stop being needy and start being magnetic. Here's what happens when you let her cross the line. She invests more. She feels like the intimacy was her choice, her desire, her step. That changes everything. Because when it's her decision, she doesn't regret it, she remembers it as something meaningful. And that memory bonds her to you far deeper than if you had tried to push her into it. Imagine sitting together in silence, your presence steady, your energy calm. Maybe she brushes your hand, maybe she leans a little closer. Instead of jumping at the chance, you let the moment breathe. You allow her curiosity and attraction to guide her across the line. In that pause, in that stillness, you give her the freedom to show you she's ready. This isn't about playing games. It's about respecting her pace while standing firm in your own confidence. And ironically, the less you push, the more she feels pulled toward you. Because what truly excites her is not a man desperate to get closer, but a man so grounded that he lets her come closer on her own. So, letting her cross the line isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to be patient, to hold your frame, and to trust that attraction works best when it's mutual and chosen. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below with the words, "I trust myself." Because when you trust your own presence, you'll naturally give her the space to step into intimacy without pressure. And here's the beauty of this: once you experience the shift of letting her lean in first, you'll realize just how much power there is in patience. That awareness alone will transform the way women respond to you, in ways you never expected. Number 7. Presence that awakens her body. When it comes to intimacy, presence isn't just a nice quality, it's everything. The way you show up in a moment determines how she feels, how her body reacts, and whether her attraction grows deeper or fades away. Presence is that invisible energy that tells her, without words, "You're safe here, you're desired here." But let's get real for a moment. Most men aren't present. They're distracted by their phones, lost in their own thoughts, or constantly calculating their next move. And when you're stuck in your head, you're not with her, you're with yourself. Women notice this instantly, and it kills attraction. Take Ryan, 29, for example. He told me about a date where he couldn't stop thinking about whether he was saying the right thing. He was so in his head that he barely noticed how she was leaning closer, playing with her hair, and giving him every signal. Later, she admitted she felt invisible, like he wasn't truly there with her. That's the cost of a lack of presence. Now compare that with Emily, 27, who shared the opposite experience. She described being on a date with a guy who didn't just hear her words, he listened. He looked her in the eyes without rushing to respond. He wasn't fidgeting with his phone or glancing around the room. She said, "I felt like the only woman in the world in that moment." And because of that presence, her guard dropped, and her body naturally leaned toward him. Presence awakens her body because it quiets her mind. In today's world, women are constantly overstimulated: social media, work stress, endless notifications. When a man shows up fully, calm and grounded, he creates contrast. Suddenly, she's not thinking about her to-do list or her inbox, she's feeling. She's noticing her breath, her heartbeat, and the way her body responds to yours. The Stoics understood this too. Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." Presence is not about rushing her into intimacy. It's about slowing down, allowing each moment to build naturally. That patience is what transforms a conversation into connection, and connection into desire. Presence also communicates power without force. When you hold eye contact, when you breathe steadily, when you resist the urge to fill every silence with nervous chatter, you're telling her that you're not afraid of the moment. You're comfortable in it. That confidence awakens something primal in her. It tells her, this man isn't seeking validation. He's grounded in himself. And here's the secret. Presence is not something you do. It's something you are. It comes from putting the phone down, slowing your thoughts, and truly noticing her. The curve of her smile, the tone of her voice, the way her energy shifts as the night unfolds. When you tune into these details, you stop chasing intimacy and start creating it. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below with the words, "I am present," because when you claim that mindset, you're already ahead of 90% of men out there. And here's the beautiful part. When you learn how to embody true presence, you won't need tricks or lines to spark desire. Your very energy will speak louder than words. And once you see how powerfully women respond to this, you'll never look at connection the same way again. Number 8. Polarity. Pressure off, tension on. If there's one truth about intimacy that most men get wrong, it's this. Attraction isn't born from comfort, it's born from tension. Comfort makes her feel safe, yes, but safety without polarity is just friendship. What awakens her body, what draws her in, is the subtle push and pull, the dance between your grounded masculine presence and her natural feminine energy. That's where tension lives. Think about it when you're overly eager, when you push too hard, or when you pressure her into intimacy, you kill polarity. Instead of sparking desire, you suffocate it. On the flip side, if you pull away completely and make everything neutral, she feels nothing. What you want is the space in between where she feels your desire without feeling your desperation. The Stoics had a way of framing this balance. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting." In other words, resistance is not the enemy, it's the source of growth. The same applies here. The slight resistance, the playful challenge, the delayed gratification, that's what turns a moment from casual to electric. Imagine sitting across from a woman and simply holding her gaze a few seconds longer than usual. You don't lean in right away, you don't rush to fill the silence. You let the pause linger. That silence is not emptiness, it's energy. It's the kind of pause where her breath slows, her awareness sharpens, and her body starts to wonder what might happen next. That's polarity in action. The key is this: pressure off, tension on. Don't corner her with expectations, but don't flatten the moment either. Let her feel that you're attracted to her. Let that energy hum quietly in the air, but keep it unspoken. Desire is most powerful when it's suggested, not demanded. Many men misunderstand this and think tension means games. It doesn't. It's not about manipulation. It's about being so secure in yourself that you don't need to force anything. You allow space for the natural flow of attraction. You lean in and then you pull back. You touch her hand lightly and then withdraw. You create rhythm, contrast, polarity. That rhythm keeps her engaged on a level far deeper than words. And here's the fascinating part. Polarity doesn't just awaken her body, it also calms her mind. When you hold your ground with steady presence, she relaxes into her own energy. She doesn't have to carry the weight of leading, deciding, or controlling. She gets to feel the thrill of anticipation, and that anticipation is where intimacy begins. The Stoics taught that mastery of self leads to mastery of life. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Tension works the same way. You don't control her response, her timing, or her feelings. You simply create the polarity and give her freedom to step into it. That freedom is what makes intimacy authentic, not forced. So, if you've ever wondered why some conversations feel flat while others crackle with energy, it comes down to this: are you creating polarity or are you killing it? Remember, attraction doesn't grow in a vacuum. It grows in the space between certainty and mystery, comfort and challenge, safety and desire. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below and affirm it with, "I hold tension." Say it, own it, and start practicing it the next time you're with her. And here's something to think about: when you truly understand how to balance this polarity, you'll realize intimacy isn't about tricks at all. It's about awakening a side of her she didn't even know was waiting. And once you experience that shift, everything about how you connect will change. Number 9. Attraction lives in your stillness. Here's a paradox most men never realize. The quieter you become, the more she feels you. Stillness is not emptiness, it's presence. When you are calm, grounded, and unshaken, you create a magnetic pull that words or actions could never achieve. Women feel that. They don't analyze it logically. They sense it in their body. Think of how most guys behave when they want intimacy. They fidget, they overtalk, they rush into jokes or explanations. They try to prove themselves, filling every silence with noise. But that noise comes from insecurity, and insecurity kills attraction. True desire doesn't need to chase, it simply is. Take Daniel, a 8-year-old software engineer. He's a good-looking guy, smart, ambitious, but when he's with women, he constantly feels the urge to keep the conversation alive. On his date with Emily, 26, he told story after story, never letting a moment breathe. By the end, Emily smiled politely, but felt exhausted. There was no space for her to lean in, no space for her to feel him. Now compare that to when Daniel learned to embody stillness. Instead of rushing, he slowed down. When Emily shared something personal, he simply looked into her eyes and listened. He didn't interrupt, didn't over-explain, didn't feel the need to fill the pause. And suddenly, Emily leaned in. She wanted to share more. She wanted to feel more. Why? Because his stillness created space for her energy to flow into. The Stoics captured this perfectly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Stillness is exactly that. It's choosing to remain unshaken regardless of what happens. When you embody that kind of control, she feels it as safety, as strength, as magnetism. Here's the beauty of it. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means every movement, every word is intentional. When you hold her gaze without rushing, when you let your hand rest on hers without shaking, when you breathe slowly instead of nervously, those small acts communicate more than 1,000 words ever could. Emily once told Daniel later on, "I don't even know why, but when you were just sitting there looking at me, I felt like I couldn't look away." That's the power of stillness. It's not about technique, it's about being so centered in yourself that she feels pulled into your energy. But here's where most men mess up. They mistake stillness for passivity. They sit there with no energy, no direction, and wonder why nothing happens. That's not stillness, that's emptiness. True stillness is alive. It's charged with subtle tension. It's you being fully present, alert, but unhurried, like the calm surface of water that hides a powerful current beneath. Think about it this way. When you're restless, she feels unsettled. When you're frantic, she feels pressured. But when you're calm, rooted, and fully present, she feels safe enough to step closer. That closeness isn't logical, it's primal. So here's the takeaway. Don't underestimate the power of silence, the weight of a pause, or the magnetism of being unshaken. When you learn to rest in your stillness, you invite her into a space where intimacy feels natural, not forced, and that's where attraction thrives. Now, I want you to take this in and claim it. Drop a comment below with, "I am stillness." Say it, own it, and start practicing it in your interactions. And let me tell you this, once you understand how stillness transforms attraction, you'll realize intimacy isn't about doing more, it's about being more. And the shift that creates will change the way women respond to you forever. Number 10. Don't beg for intimacy, ignite it. Here's the brutal truth. The moment you beg for intimacy, you kill it. No woman on earth is drawn to desperation. When a man pleads, when he tries to convince, when he seeks permission with needy eyes, he strips away the very energy that makes intimacy possible. Begging communicates lack, and lack is the opposite of desire. But here's where things get interesting. Intimacy isn't something you ask for with words, it's something you ignite with presence, energy, and leadership. Think about fire. You don't get fire by begging wood to burn. You get fire by creating the right conditions, fuel, spark, and oxygen. Attraction works the same way. When a man embodies strength, calmness, and grounded confidence, he creates those conditions. Women feel it in their body before they even process it with their mind. And the desire that awakens inside them isn't logical, it's instinctual. That's why begging never works. You can't talk a woman into intimacy. You can only ignite the feeling inside her. Let's ground this in something practical. Imagine you're sitting with a woman and you want closeness. A begging mindset would sound like, "Please, can we?" Or, "Do you like me?" Or, "I really want this." All of these phrases put you beneath her. They transfer your power away. And instead of sparking attraction, they smother it. Now imagine a man who doesn't beg. He doesn't even ask directly. Instead, he leans into his own masculine presence. His touch is confident, his eye contact steady, his voice calm but charged with energy. He doesn't push, he doesn't plead, he invites without words. And because his energy is steady, she feels safe enough to step into that space. That is ignition. The Stoics, once again, understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly. Desire is no different. It is built, sparked, and allowed to unfold in its own time." A man who understands this never rushes, never begs. He knows that intimacy is the natural outcome of tension, polarity, and presence. Here's another layer. Ignition requires restraint. You must know when to pull back, when to let silence linger, when to give her space to lean forward. This is where most men fail. They push too quickly, collapsing the very tension that fuels attraction. Think of it as holding a bowstring. If you release too soon, there's no power. If you never release, there's frustration. But when you time it right, the arrow flies. Ignition also requires risk. You must be willing to step into the possibility of rejection without fear. Because here's the paradox. When you're not afraid to walk away, that's when she feels your strongest pull. The man who is centered in himself, who doesn't beg but instead leads with calm energy, creates a gravitational force. She feels drawn in, not pressured. And this is why begging destroys intimacy. It flips the polarity. Instead of being the man who sets the frame, you become the man who follows hers. Instead of igniting her desire, you smother it with neediness. So, what's the shift? It's simple but not easy. Stop chasing intimacy as something to get from her. Start embodying intimacy as something you create within yourself. Live in your body, in your stillness, in your calm masculine energy. Invite her into that space without asking, without pleading, just being, just leading. At that moment, intimacy isn't something you beg for. It's something she feels compelled to step into. And when she does, it's not because you asked. It's because you ignited something inside her that she couldn't resist. That's the difference between a man who waits for permission and a man who sparks desire. One repels, the other magnetizes. And the choice of which man you become is entirely yours. Throughout this video, we've broken down the core principles that separate men who beg for intimacy from those who naturally attract it. You've seen how weak energy kills desire, how approval-seeking destroys attraction, and how true intimacy is sparked by presence, sexual polarity, and the quiet confidence of a Stoic mindset. The message is simple. Intimacy isn't something you chase, it's something you ignite by who you are. If you take anything away from this video, let it be this. Women respond to strength, stillness, and leadership, not neediness or desperation. Everything you need to create that spark is already within you. If this video gave you value, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next insights on female psychology, attraction, and the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you spending this time with me. I'll see you tomorrow with another powerful video.